I am what you call a soggy mom. Think crunchy mom, organic, clean, all natural, granola eating, but a hell of a lot more watered down, if you catch my drift. I love me some Diet Coke, some Botox. I store some food in plastic containers, oftentimes microwave my meals, and I give my kids boxed macaroni and cheese, although sometimes, depending on if there's a sale, I will make sure it's organic. But jokes aside, I try my absolute best to find healthier alternatives and swaps to bring into my household and for my family, and plant therapy has made that incredibly possible. They are your source for affordable, all-natural organic oils and kids-safe products that you can start incorporating into your everyday routines in the easiest and best smelling ways. For me, I ditched the candles and brought in some incredible essential oils that I can diffuse around the house. I replaced my dryer sheets with some wool balls that I drip a little bit of laundry specific oil onto to get that incredible scent. I incorporated new facial serums, new hair care products, and so many other things that we absolutely love around the house. Not only can you access quality reports, but you can get on their website and learn more about where to use, how to use, who to use it with, and how to make sure you are getting the most out of everything that you order. I know for me, being on social media, I see essential oils being marketed and sold in so many different ways from a slew of different companies, and it has made it incredibly confusing as to where to turn. And not only that, it also can be incredibly expensive depending on where you're buying it from. Plant Therapy has no organization that oversees the quality of their essential oils. The terms therapeutic grade is simply a marketing term that a lot of people use to sell their products and make it look a little bit better than the rest. When looking for the highest quality oils, Plant Therapy reminds you not to look for terms like that and instead turn to companies that quality test their products, have reports, and have experts to weigh in. Companies like them. So if you're like me, soggy mom through and through, just hoping to make healthier swaps for your lifestyle and home, check out Plant Therapy today. I cannot recommend them enough. And best of all, they gave me a coupon, Very Merry, for 10% off your order today. I promise you, you will love it and your house will smell amazing. Hi, come on in. And join in. It's the Very Merry Life. Hi, I'm Mary Hendricks, and you might know me as that relatable AF Mama over on Instagram who hopefully feels like an old friend at this point. And if not, it won't be long till it feels that way as we get raw, unfiltered, and very unapologetic in all things motherhood, marriage, sex, and more. From moments worth savoring to moments worth surviving, get ready to leave feeling seen and supported. You have a friend here now, so hey, take a seat. What's going on?
Hello, everyone. Hello. We're hitting technical difficulties, but hi guys. Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm pumped. I have Emily here from Made for Motherhood, and I'm going to let her introduce herself real quick, and then we're going to get into it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Emily. I have two boys, a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old at home, and my wonderful husband, Matt. I used to be a counselor before I became a stay-at-home mom. I was in mental health and school counseling, and then I transitioned to the stay-at-home mom world and then the Instagram world. And now I'm here sitting with Mary.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So I connected with you. I don't remember when. I think you were following me, and there's certain accounts that.
No, let's clarify. I was fangirling.
Oh well, you. I always forget about that. Like I literally forget sometimes. I had someone come up to me in a grocery store, and she follows me, and she's like, "Can I fangirl you real quick?" And I was caught off guard. I was like, "Wait, yeah." And then I was like, "It's like I completely forget." So I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're not a regular mom anymore. You're a cool mom. So.
Oh, I'm definitely just a regular mom. That is for sure. I just came upstairs after sending all the Kev and the kids out, because I came downstairs and they are choosing not just violence this morning, but they're choosing World War III today. And the house is a disaster, and they're at each other's throats and they're screaming, and they just discovered a microphone that I hid from them. So like that added on. And I just went downstairs.
Is it one of those like speak to whatever and it like echoes?
Yeah.
My nightmares.
Yeah. I announced to everyone. I just looked around and I said, I have a feeling I'm going to lose my ever loving shit today. And my husband's like, why? What's going on? And I was like, I can just tell you, I am like here. And I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
unless something changes, I am going to blow a gasket.
The
And he was
toes
like,
are on the edge.
yeah. And he was like, okay,
Yeah.
everyone in the car, in the car. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah,
Like,
I think you actually connected with me because I had shared that video about what mom creators have done for me.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was like just I mean, I connected with a bunch of moms that I had literally, we'll call it fangirling, had literally been following for a while who had inspired me. And I just was like fuming that day. And I remember just hitting record and just like,
Oh, wait,
I
yeah,
got
you're
so
right.
many,
It was after the one creator who we shall not
yes,
name, but
yes,
I've
no,
brought her up before on this podcast. I haven't said her name,
yeah,
but there's one
yeah,
that's inspired many conversations on here.
yes, yes.
There's a
Yeah, we don't need to
creator.
go down that hole,
No, no,
but
no, because especially,
yeah,
you know what? I'm not here to pick fights. I'm not here
exactly,
to rattle cages or
exactly,
create drama, but I will
exactly.
say there is a creator on social media. She's a very large following, like double my following. She's very large. I
Mhm.
remember her from circa like 2015. Like I
Right,
remember her from
right.
the early years. She was probably
I
like
remember her
one of,
from before I became a mom.
yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
she was someone like that. I had always seen her and knew of her for that reason. And her content, again, I just had this conversation with a few other ladies about the same
Mhm.
creator. And I
Mhm.
said, the problem is that she is circa 2017. I'm just going to go with that number because that's when I had my
Mhm.
first.
Mhm.
I said 2017 when Instagram was perfect. Like the aesthetic
Exactly.
of Instagram was
Exactly.
perfect. And
Exactly.
I don't think she's capable of breaking away from that.
And
And
I think it's hard and I don't necessarily fault her, but I'm going to advocate for the people that have helped me get through shit. Like
yeah,
I'm going to stand up for those people who I feel like have been pushed under the rug or the trolls come after because they say you're all about, publicizing your kids'
well,
lives or
it's
whatever. Yeah.
creators like this one that we're mentioning that is so sunshine and roses. And she put out a reel, and
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say what the reel is about. But she basically did one that said if you want to excel at something like, for example, basketball, you would follow the Kobe Bryants of the world. You'd follow the Michael
Mhm.
Jordans. You would
Mhm.
follow the best of the best. You wouldn't follow the guy that forgot his shoes at home or his basketball at
Yeah.
home. That was
Who I
not
was.
verbatim, but that's
Yeah.
pretty much what she said in this reel.
Mhm. Mhm.
If you hear that, what do you think? You think that you're going to follow the best people who are doing this correctly. If you want
Mhm.
to be the best mother, then you're not going to follow the people that are messing up. And
Yeah.
that triggered so many people, including myself, including everyone else, where we're like,
Mhm.
what the hell? Like,
I mean, I spiraled downward that day. That's why I just like hit record. I was sobbing.
yeah,
That's how isolated it made me feel because I was feeling like a shit mother that day. And
yeah.
I saw it come across and I was just like, no, there are people who I have literally followed who have made me stop in my tracks and say, gosh, they're in it with me. Like I'm not so isolated and alone. And they like just, I mean, you've done it, Mary. You've done it for me more times than I can count. You have literally pulled me out of like depths of despair because you just come on and you're just like fucking you. And it's so just cathartic.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
I'm
It
sorry to
is.
watch
No,
your
it
pain
is.
in that
It
way,
is.
but it is.
No,
Yeah.
it is. And that's why I did it in the first place, because again, I've shared my, my come up it's in Instagram, and I started like, if you go in the bottom of my page, like first of all, it was fitness,
Mhm.
but then as
Mhm.
you go, you'll see it start to get Instagram aesthetic where I filtered.
Right.
I was like dressed up.
Right.
I would take on like, I would go like shopping and get these outfits that were not me, but were
Mhm.
Instagram worthy outfits that I was
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
trying to take pictures in. And I was doing all the
Mhm.
things that Instagram at the time looked like. And it was
Exactly.
so exhausting. And I think the time that I was like, I can't do this anymore was I lost my shit on the kids because they weren't posing for a picture. And I
Yep.
immediately compared myself to like this mom, this creator that we're talking about now, but like others in her realm, where I was like, they're
Mhm.
getting the perfect pictures. They're getting their family to cooperate. What is wrong with me that I
Right.
can't? And I was just like, fuck this. Like, I'm
Yep.
not this. Like, I am a shit show of a person. but that's one of my best endearing qualities is like,
Exactly. And
is that.
it's so easy to filter out that part. But what I found is that the more authentic that I am, and about the joys too, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to stay in this space all the time of like my struggle, but I need to show up at least a little bit every day and be who I really am. Because the more that I do that, the more aligned I am with who I actually want to be, like,
Yeah.
and who I actually am. And it's like, you're coming together now, because if you try to be one person and then behind the screen you're another person, and this is for everybody, this is for the average user of social media, you there's going to be that discrepancy. There's a term in counseling that we use to refer to that, and it's like you literally are two separate people
Yeah.
and you're at odds with each other all the time. And the more that I've like just shown up as myself, the more people have responded to it, and the more that I actually am taking care of my own mental health
Oh
too.
yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, and
yeah.
I was, like I said, I was talking about this one creator and I was like, people come to Instagram for a few reasons. One, to laugh. Two, to be
Hmm.
inspired or learn something.
Hmm.
Three, escapism. And they
Yeah.
come and they look, and that's why it's so intriguing to see others people's lives. It's a chance
Hmm.
to look into
Hmm.
everyone's windows and kind of like escape your own reality, which
Oh
can
yeah.
be helpful.
Oh,
But when
absolutely.
it starts to
Absolutely.
impact your own, that's where the problem
Hmm.
lies. Where, and I think that's why the social media finally took a turn, because during COVID, everyone was like, the world's on fire. Who gives a shit? Like, who
Hmm.
cares? And I think the pandemic was the best thing ever for
Hmm.
social media. It
Oh,
pushed us all to just
absolutely.
show up, because we're like, show up as
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely. And I do think though that the more that I see myself on camera, the more that it actually like teaches me something about my being just true to who you are and sticking to your boundaries. And like, yeah, I present myself to this world right here, but the lessons that it's teaching me and advocating for myself, and I don't have to be the people pleaser all the time. And, it's okay to just be me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's life changing.
Agreed. Agreed. I think that's like the best thing ever. So, well, anyway, I'm glad to have you here, and I'm fangirling
Yeah.
over you. I fangirl. I love it. I love connecting with all these accounts, and I love connecting with moms like you. And I think that's why I love podcasting so much, because I have a chance to actually talk to an
Oh
adult.
yeah, this was like the highlight of my month. I've been looking forward to this.
Yay. Well, I'm glad. So I know you had discussed a little bit about mental health and,
Yes.
your own journey with it. Do you mind sharing a
Hmm.
little bit kind of how that's been for you, especially with motherhood?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a background in mental health and school counseling. So I have the knowledge. I have all the resources. I have all the coping skills in my toolbox that I know how to teach others. But it wasn't until I became a mother that I was like, holy shit, I have no grasp on this at all for myself. And things just started to trickle and get really out of whack, so to speak. And I after my second, that's when I really started to notice like something's changing in me. This is not normal. It didn't feel like it was postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, or postpartum rage, but I didn't have enough information to know what was going on. And there was one day where I just completely lost my shit. Like the dog, the kids, everything. I was by myself and I was like, who is that person? Like, I don't know that person. And then 2 days later, I felt like a completely different person again. And then I started to notice that this was happening every single month.
Mm-hmm.
I would lose my shit, like just screaming and like unrecognizable anger, throwing things like in my bedroom, like really just like unhinged,
Yeah.
unhinged, so to speak. And I try to be gentle with myself in the way that I describe it in those moments, because I know better. But I was beating myself up too in those moments.
Did it feel out of body for you?
We'll be back after a quick break. Eye-Opening Moments podcast are real-life stories of adversity, encounters, and perspectives. They are moments that can lift your spirits, give you some food for thought, or move you. For the introspective mind that likes to reflect, discover, and find solutions or meaning in a complex life, listen to Eye-Opening Moments podcasts.
Oh yeah. Like I was
I have
watching
that,
myself
yeah.
from, oh yeah, I was watching myself from like outside and I was like, wow, like this person is crazy. This person's not me. And I disassociate from that person.
Yeah.
And so I started to just like track it. And then I noticed, okay, this is kind of happening at the same time every month. And I used to just say, maybe this is just PMS. But then I called my OB because I had had the 6 week follow up, postpartum, and she was like, okay, well, let's just keep tabs on this and let's see how it goes. And so we kept tabs on it. I started tracking my cycles, like legit, just seeing from day 1 to day 26 how was I, moods and everything. It's because that was her advice, because what she thought it sounded like. So, and I just noticed every time it was happening around ovulation and right before I got my period, like clockwork,
That's me.
clockwork.
That is
Yeah.
me. That's
And
me.
and it's normal for every woman to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
It's absolutely normal. However, there are times where it's like completely not normal
Yeah.
when it inhibits your daily functioning. And that was me. Like I was needing like 48 hours for my husband to take completely over. And in that time, we also moved. I lost my support system. And so I called the OB back and I told her, and she's like, all right, let's come in, let's talk. And she diagnosed me with what's called PMDD, or premenstrual dysphoric syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just an extremely, extremely heightened form of PMS, which can be characterized by like panic attacks and anxiety attacks and extreme rage and irritability and mood swings and even suicidal ideation. Just
Yeah.
it's completely out of body. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
No, well, and
Every month.
I'm so glad we're talking about this. This is actually something that I've been like, I don't feel like it's at the point where it's uncontrollable, but I
Mm-hmm,
have toyed with going to my OB talking about the
mm-hmm,
same very thing, but I'm like
mm-hmm.
holding back because I'm like, can I manage with it? Just be aware. So
Exactly.
I'm trying to like track
Exactly.
and pinpoint, but that is literally me to a T between, and that's why like me just walking downstairs, I am right in that week before I get my period
Yeah.
and I can
Yep.
feel it. And I know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's happened
Mm-hmm.
enough consistently where I know that I'm like, just give myself like a heads up of being like, this is your week before your period. Hold on
Yep.
for dear life
Yep.
type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's irrational anger that I know is irrational and it sucks. It's such a sucky feeling because I have moments like that where I am literally in my head being like, this is ridiculous. Like you need to calm down, but I can't.
Right.
Like there is
No.
nothing I
No.
there's no amount of anything that I can say to myself to get that moment gone. And I could calm myself
Mm-hmm.
down, but if something else happens 5 minutes later, back
Oh, you're back
all
at
the way
it.
up.
You're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like 0 to 60 and you're there and
Yeah.
you can't de-escalate. That's where you are. That's where you operate during
Yeah.
these days. And then something else happens. And so like
Yeah.
60 to like 360, right? It's
Yeah.
just like, and that's me. That's literally me. And so but I started going on a shame spiral about it instead of like, and then I'm like, no. And my husband's like, you're a good mom. You're a good mom. Look at all the things that you do. But it was like the 24 other days or the 20 other days or whatever it was, I discounted that completely because of how out of bounds and irrational I felt.
Mhm.
Like and I felt like these days are going to scar my children for the rest of their life. And this is all they're going to think about.
Yeah. I've had
And
plenty
it's
of moments like
extremely
that.
hard.
Yeah, I've talked openly about it. I last September I kicked a toy out of pure rage. Like, and it was
Mm-hmm.
the week before my period. Like it all
Mm-hmm.
clicked and I
Mm-hmm.
kicked a toy and I
Mm-hmm.
shattered a window and I will never forget that moment of turning around and Cassidy and Spencer just looked at me in fear and started crying. And
Yeah.
I just immediately was like, I saw red. Like there was nothing
Yep.
that like when looking back at that moment, it wasn't like I could have stopped myself from doing that action. I
Mm-mm.
just like blanked. It was just like, it was just red. And I did
Yeah.
it. And I didn't mean to
Yeah.
break the window. That was just a freak accident that
A
happened because of
byproduct.
it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was out of the anger, like the anger that just erupted out of me because they were being crazy. It wasn't anything
Yeah.
that's like, nothing
Yeah.
deserves that,
And
honestly. But it
and
was,
they don't have the ability to calm themselves down. So if we don't, we're just like needing
Yeah.
energy all the time. It's
Yeah.
just, excuse me. But, and especially you got a kid under 5, really under like 7 or 8 developmentally. You have a kid under that age, they cannot emotionally regulate themselves the way that they need to. And then they see that happening as well with their
Yeah.
parent. And it absolutely affects them.
Yeah.
However, I'm learning that like, okay, like the 80-20 rule, if 80% of our interactions are good and positive and loving, and 20% of our interactions are like that, they will be okay. They will
That's
be
what
okay. We will be okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's so important. It's the 1% that we always focus on. It's that
Exactly.
you can apply that to anything. You can get a
Yeah.
99%, and that one answer that you
Mhm.
don't do is going to drive you nuts.
Oh yeah.
You can get 99 great
Yeah.
comments, but that one terrible comment that you get on a video is going to be the one that's going to put you over
Oh
the edge.
yeah.
It's just how it is, but same thing.
Mhm.
And I think for me, it's the ownership portion. And I say that toward like our generation, where I think a lot of us are comparing ourselves to our parents, and we're comparing ourselves to
Mhm.
like the boomers and things like that, where their generation was not like, they still had the same exact emotions, same exact behaviors, but they skirted over it. Like, what I
Yeah.
did, we can't talk about it after that. Like, no
Yeah, it
talking
was
about
done.
it, done.
Mhm.
And it was
Mhm.
almost like they didn't want to own it. And I feel like that's the
Or
portion that,
still don't. Or still
yeah,
don't. It's hard. Yeah.
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 Now I think that's the
Yeah.
portion that like I'm
Mhm.
fully honest. And afterwards, I brought my kids out. Like I made a video on it because I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna film us repairing this motherfucking window, and that sat broken, by the way, for like 8 weeks. So it just stared at me in the face for 8 weeks long, which is
Reminding you of that moment. Yeah, forever.
terrible
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
But I brought them out. We got like stuff to repair the window, and they helped me set it up. And I just explained to them afterwards, and I was like, I am so sorry. And I was like, Mommy just
Mhm.
gets angry, and I sometimes don't
Mhm.
know what to do with that. And they were little, so I don't think they really understand. But I think it's just showing that like I'm not okay with that behavior. Like, what I did
Oh
was
no.
not okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
but it's a human thing. And I
Exactly.
try and remind myself, and that my kids one day, they're probably going to have a moment like that. They're probably going to have
Ah.
a not so great day. Most likely they will have a not so great day. Everyone
Oh
does.
yeah. Yeah.
But I need them to know that it's not something that they need to look and be like, something's wrong with me. Like something
Mhm.
is, I'm bad. It's a bad moment. That's all it is.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want them to take that 1% and generalize it to their whole life.
No,
Just
no,
like we
us.
do.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I can tell you from working with high schoolers that the parents that owned up to the stuff that they've done, whether it was putting pressure academically, and not seeing them for more than a grade on the paper, or whether it was these types of conversations and these types of moments, the parents that took ownership, those children sat in my office like a completely different child.
Yeah.
Because when they get to that point in high school, they're on their own. That
Yeah.
like they think they're on their own. And so if we are just continuing to act in that way, and not take ownership for the wrongdoings, and saying like, let's say you failed a test, and the parent loses it for the child failing a test, and then they don't come back and repair that after that
Yeah.
child then, like at that moment, they are searching for their autonomy and their identity. They are then defining themselves by that interaction at
Yeah.
that point. And
Yeah.
so what I found was the students in my office that were having the anxiety attacks, the panic attacks, the suicidal ideations, they were the students that didn't have that kind of repairing portion of the relationship. They were the students that had the parents that were holding tight to that line, and how they define themselves, and how they what the expectation was for their kids.
Yeah. And
So
you're going to try and define, and then your brain is going to come in there and try to define it in the most negative ways possible if you don't have an
exactly.
answer to like
Exactly.
those
So
things.
repairing and talking about it afterwards, that is essential.
Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
can't just skirt over. I know it's hard. Like I felt that way.
Mhm.
Like even talking about it now, I'm like, it's kind of just a laughing moment, especially because here's the thing I don't have on my side that sometimes gives me like anxiety. My 5-year-old has the best memory in the entire world. Like I'm not even kidding.
Oh
We
yeah.
had, she was speech delayed. So she was in IEP program this for preschool
Mhm.
before she gets into kindergarten. Her teachers in her team sat down with me before for like her kindergarten readiness exam, and they got the results back, and they're like, she is great. She's good to go. She no longer qualifies for an IEP based off her results, which is fabulous. She's great. But they were going through each test that they did, and they said memory. And they were like, she excelled, like above and beyond the average range. And I was like, oh, you don't have to tell me that.
Thanks.
I already know.
Yeah.
She will bring up, she'll be like, Mommy, you remember that time? I forget
December 3rd, 2019.
Yeah. I said something about like, I'm getting really angry. And I said this like the other day, and I was like, I'm feeling angry. And she's like, are you going to kick a toy? And I was like, Mother.
Rub my nose in it.
I know. I'm like, oh God. I'm like, shut up. And I just look at her, and she now like, she has a good sense of humor. So I literally looked at her and was like, shut up. And just started laughing, and she started laughing. And I was like, enough. But now she knows to like just poke
Push
the bear.
those
But
buttons.
I also kind of love that, because I'm like, I want you to remember it, but I also want you to know that like we can talk about it. And we know now that it wasn't a great moment for me. And we can.
Yeah, but don't tell her you're ever going to Disney World and then forget to go.
No, she started those questions. She did.
Oh, I bet.
I have a whole video. I put the video down the other day while I was cooking dinner. And she's like, how come some kids go to Disney and we don't? And I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, you're really little. And I was like, we'll go one day. And she's like, can I go tomorrow? Can we go tomorrow?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
No. She said, maybe
the memory then turns into the immediacy too.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. We're going to have to figure this one out. But yeah. So it's, how old are your boys?
So my oldest turns 3 in August, and then my youngest turns 17 months. Tomorrow?
Okay. So what's the age gap?
17 months.
Okay. How was that?
Yeah. Rough.
Yeah.
Rough. I have you had actually talked about this, and you talked about this a lot, but you talked about this in one of your podcasts about the shoulder dystocia experience with Cassidy. And that happened with Rory, however, who's my oldest. However, I was not told about that until I was pregnant with Finn, my second.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was never told that there was any complications. I came out of it thinking I had this blissful, like, vaginal delivery, and was never told about it. And then I was told, like, by week 12 appointment or something, that you're going to have a C-section. Like, I'm like, what? I had no idea. I was not, I was not prepared for that. So their age gap was a lot in part due to the fact that I had this blissful pregnancy and delivery. And my husband and I were like, and he didn't know that there was any complications. They did take him to the NICU bed in the little room to do, like, immediately. They did not put him on my chest.
Yeah.
So I knew there was something, but then they said it's all good to go. They never said the word shoulder dystocia. They never said anything like that.
They didn't. Yeah. Mine was pretty bad. Mine was awful. It was like
yours was nothing compared to what mine was.
Well, I think summer, if anyone's listening, like, and you're pregnant, for one, they're rare-ish, but it's one of those things. Please educate yourself on. Please make sure you're working with a provider that is up to date on all training with shoulder dystocias, because it can happen to anyone, and usually it happens without warning. That's the scariest part about it. And there's different grades of it. I know that, like, it's how extreme does it end up being, I think, is like where you have to watch. For me, it was pretty extreme, so that's why we definitely went C-section. But I feel like that's the safest route. Once you have one,
exactly.
Risk for
and ours did not seem that extreme. I was just never empowered with that information. And I honestly was like sitting in there thinking I had this, like, which I did. I still did. I'm not going to let the 1% affect the 99, but I was thinking I had this beautiful delivery with no pain. I mean, even though I tore 2nd-degree tears afterwards, my recovery was like a breeze.
Yeah.
Sorry if anybody's wasn't, but like it just was. And so that really impacted our planning for our second kid.
Yeah.
And we were so excited at 6 months. We were like, when he was 6 months old, we're like, we're ready to start trying. And I'm glad that we did. I have this beautiful baby boy, my 17-month-old Finn. Like, I don't regret that, but I feel like I was so ill prepared. And I think that's caused a lot of this postpartum shift, so to speak, because it's caused a lot more chronic stress now.
I think it varies for everyone, but I know for me, like
Yeah.
same thing with Cassidy. So Cassidy's birth obviously was traumatic. That didn't necessarily stop me with the second, because afterwards we
Mhm.
got her home and everything was, peachy keen. And she was, and knock on wood, with if we have any future kids, I'm not having a day like that today. She
Right.
was an easy baby. Like most of my babies were pretty
Mhm.
easy, except my son.
Mhm.
And that's where I'm getting into. She was an easy baby and
Yeah.
she made it fun. And I always tell
Right.
everyone, if you are in that stage, especially when they hit like that 6 month to 9 month, or I think it's like a window of like 6 to 18 months,
Mhm.
about that, they're
Mhm.
like, this is personally my favorite stage. Like Haley's in
Yep.
it. But
Yep. Oh yeah,
she's slowly
yeah,
phasing out.
Haley and Finn are close in age, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
16. She says, she's 16 months. So yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
she's peaking. She's peaking towards the top of turning
Oh
into a
yeah. Oh
a
yeah.
little toddler. Where her new thing is
We're
to
getting in the
scream.
flail on the floor meltdown stage a little
Yep.
bit. So.
Yep. That,
Mhm.
and she screams bloody murder about everything.
Oh yeah.
Everything.
Oh yeah.
And she wants to play. She wants to play with my older kids, and she doesn't like when things get taken from her, which guess what happens all
Mhm.
the time. So
Right.
anyhow, but it's that sweet spot where if you are in your first baby era and you're having that sweet spot, proceed with caution, people. Like, please proceed with caution. I'm not against having babies, like more than one baby, obviously.
Oh,
I
absolutely
just
not. Yeah.
I just wish I had known, especially because my kids are 21 months apart. I just
Mhm.
went into it thinking sunshine and roses, and I completely forgot that I'm going to have two little people. Like I don't know what
Absolutely.
happened. I forgot that it's not going to be the same as my first.
Oh yeah, the reel you made the other day, I'm like, I wish I had watched that reel before having Rory, definitely, but definitely before having Finn. Like the
Yeah.
reel that you
Oh
made that
yeah.
was
About
talking to
like when you
mothers
bring
and
home another sibling. Yeah.
yes, I wish that I had, or even just considering having children, like I wish that I had that kind of just person just talk to me. I mean, it was an unplanned pregnancy with Rory, so that was
Yeah.
another thing, but with Finn, we were in that blissful
Yeah.
stage. Rory was a great baby. And so at 6 months, it was like, oh, this is so easy. And I didn't know about any of the, complications or the risk that was coming possibly with my second pregnancy, having them closer. And so, and I have big babies. Rory was 8 pounds, 13 ounces, and Finn was 10 pounds, 15 ounces.
Shit.
So
Yeah.
he was
Yeah.
going to be a C-section baby
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
I know people have vaginally delivered 11-pound babies, but I don't
God bless
know.
you. God
Yeah.
bless you for that.
Yeah. With no gestational diabetes, nothing. They're just big babies. And
Yeah.
so there was like an implication that, yeah, this will definitely happen again, the shoulder
Yeah.
dystocia. So I just, I don't know that I would have changed anything, but I wish that those providers would have sat down, those physicians or nurses or whoever would have sat down with me and told me it's no fault of their own. There's so much going on there that there's no time. I mean, you
Yeah.
get 1 6-week visit, like
Yeah.
it's hard. But
Yeah.
I wish that I would have had that information or known to ask about that information.
There's so much information that I wish every mom would be given. It's literally, I for one don't understand why like foster parents, they have to go through a whole home inspection. I feel like you need to go through a
Mhm.
home inspection.
Yes.
People need to do that. Like there's
Yes.
so many things that need to happen in order to like prepare you, and like, or
Mhm.
even just like, I thought about this yesterday because I brought my oldest to go to a pediatrician appointment.
Right.
And I was like, you know, it was one of the first appointments where, because I think she's old enough now, they did the full wellness exam, but one of those was looking in the private
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm in the room with her, and it's a female doctor and everything, but it was the first time I've ever heard it, someone else ask those questions and being like, only mommy, daddy, doctor, like we're asking, like no one else touches down there. And I'm like,
Mhm.
we're getting to that point where it's like those questions are coming in for her safety because she's old enough to be able to share it. And I'm like, I'm surprised
Right.
that doctors' visits aren't at home anymore. Like, why aren't they at home? They used to be.
I
And
know.
that
I
would
know.
affect so many kids, because how easy is it to hide shit going into a appointment.
Oh, it's so easy. And my colleagues and I have talked about this all the time, that our system is set up for reactionary stuff, not preventative stuff.
No.
And it's so
Yes.
sad because a lot of kids lose out because of that. A lot of
And
kids
parents,
are really
and we could
affected.
spiral this into like the mom, but
Oh, yeah.
that's literally
Yeah.
spot on. Is it's based off of reaction, not prevention. And that's like,
Mhm.
that's where we're all begging for like something more to happen before we have to hit the rage, and we have to hit the burnout and the
100%. I
exhaustion.
always think if I would have been given, I mean, I knew nothing about birth, delivery, like
Same.
nothing about pregnancy before I got pregnant. I mean, I was 30 years old. Like, I knew how it happened.
I didn't even know. I
Like-
didn't even know that, but I knew how it happened through sex. I
Yeah.
thought it just happened through any day sex. I did not know about ovulation. Like, I was that naive in knowing, like not knowing.
But because where did you get that information? You didn't,
one.
unless
Like,
you,
it just wasn't talked about.
unless
Yeah.
your mom sat you down and explained that, like, or you looked it up for yourself. You don't have that information.
No.
I mean, there was never any professional that sat me down and talked about that. I knew the sperm fertilized the egg, but
Yeah, we did
nothing
sex
after
ed.
that.
Like, I went to
Yeah.
sex ed, and our high school. I went to a public high school, so we did sex ed stuff,
Mhm.
but it was never that in depth. And I remember.
Oh, so I went to
like,
Catholic high school. There was nothing.
I'm sure, yeah, totally. Not.
Yeah.
But they, or like we did a class in 6th grade where I think was when you're starting puberty, and like we had to watch
Mhm.
about period and about sperm, but no one on the opposite side. So the girls, we never watched about the sperm. The guys never watched about the period. So
Mhm.
we didn't learn about other stuff. But in the period video, I do not remember about ovulation. I just literally thought
Oh, no.
it was any time you had sex, which technically I guess is possibly true because there's some freak
Possibly,
ass
yeah. Yeah.
But it's during ovulation. And I was like, I had no idea. So when I was trying getting pregnant, Kevin and I would just have sex and I'd be so disappointed. It's like nothing happened. I'm like, you're an idiot.
Oh crap. We just have to do it all the time.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
But I was like,
I
and then
get it, I
finally,
get
but
it.
same thing with pregnancy. I didn't find out anything. I just literally thought, because my mom's birth experiences were also, I think she just got an epidural and she had a baby vaginally, and that was it.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I didn't know anything else about C-sections. I didn't even know anyone else in my family that had C-sections. So I didn't know about that. I didn't know about birth issues. Like, I didn't know about that there could be complications. I didn't know about
Right.
anything. So I went
Right.
in and I got my epidural with Cassidy, and that got placed wrong, but I didn't know that that's how it shouldn't feel. And then the birth
Mhm.
trauma happened.
The same thing happened to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then C-sections. I didn't know anyone else that had them in my family. So I was like, I have nothing to compare this towards.
Luckily, I had 2 friends that gave birth before I did, but I was but they didn't live near me. I was one of the first, because it was an unplanned, in my friend group to do that. And that was where I got all my information from my friends.
Yeah.
And, that could be true or not. We all have different experiences, but I think the lack of information is what really caused a much harder postpartum.
Absolutely. I think that's
Yeah.
what's causing a lot harder of everything. And I think that's why I'm
yeah.
like, I think over time my page has definitely shifted to more of the taboo topics of stuff, because I'm like so sick and
Mhm.
tired of this, where I'm like, it doesn't need to be this difficult. Like, I know motherhood
No.
is difficult, raising little kids is this difficult, but we are making it 10 times harder. And every time I've ever gotten like lashback on sharing the shit, I always say, especially because my number one favorite comment, and that's why I did that reel I did about like motherhood being worth it the other day,
Mhm.
is I love when people comment saying, you're making me not want to have kids, or this makes me question having kids, or I had some
Mhm.
people that like,
Mhm.
stop sharing this stuff. You're going to make people
Mhm.
reconsider having kids. I
Mhm.
love that. Good.
They should. Yes.
They should. And it's not
Yes.
because I'm saying don't have kids, but I want you to go
No.
into it. I would rather you not want it based off of an assumption, go into it, and then find out what you know, and then make an informed decision, because it is, you should know.
Mhm.
You should know everything.
Yeah, if you're going to look at 25 houses before you buy a house, let's have some thought before you bring a child into the world too. Like, that's all we want you to do, is just think, because I know what happens when it's the other end of that, when they were unprepared, when there was an unplanned pregnancy, or I know what can happen, and I know what can happen to that child too, or that mother. I mean, I know it way too well, unfortunately. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. It's
We
hard.
have
So
to know. Yeah. We have to share
but
the
it
hard
is,
stuff.
it is nothing that I would never, I'm thinking about, do I have a third or not? Like that's literally how much I love my children, how much I love this journey that we've chosen for ourselves. Like I love being a mother. There's
Yeah.
literally, that's why my page is called Made for Motherhood, because there's nothing about your struggle or your hardships or anything that says that you shouldn't have done this. I just
Yeah.
want you to be prepared for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
ownership. It's like the same. It's
Yeah.
that ownership key. You have to like really
Mm-hmm.
look at yourself and look at the situation and
Yeah.
then go into it. And then just know that shit's going to happen along the way. Like if that's
Mm-hmm.
the choice you make,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to nail it. No one's going to nail it. Like
Yeah.
even
Never. We could tell you what to expect, and it's not going to be what your
no,
journey is going to be like either. Nobody's
no,
going to be the same, and
no.
yeah, it's nobody's prepared. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. The child development specialist with a mental health background can't. I are kidding. I'm so not prepared.
Yeah.
Like if I'm not prepared, I don't expect Susie down the street to be prepared. You
Yeah.
know.
No.
So, but I love that what you're saying. Like I love that people are thinking about that, because it's not a decision to go into lightly. If you didn't go into marriage lightly, if you didn't go into buying a house or starting a life with
Well,
your future person lightly, you should.
it's the same people that like for me is like people look at the wedding day. Let's go to the wedding day. People look at
Mm-hmm.
the wedding day and they think about just the glitz and the glam and the beauty of that day. No one is thinking about the marriage. And that's
Right.
where that hits. And same
The hard
thing
work,
with
yeah.
like us, and rounding it back to what we started off and how we started following each other is
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see on social media this picture perfect world being painted, and that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You should see stuff like that. You really
Yeah, the
should.
wedding days of motherhood, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we should see
Yeah.
the wedding days of motherhood. We should
Because
see
they're
that.
there. They're
But we
absolutely
also
there.
have to
Yeah.
see the marriage portion of motherhood,
Oh
which
yeah.
is the
Oh
rest
yeah.
of it. So that way, because it's not every day is going to be a wedding day. Like not every
Yeah.
day is it. We have to know what's going to come after that and be prepared for it. And that's why accounts like yours and mine and so many others that I love bringing on here for everyone listening. Like, please go through past episodes if you haven't already. Like, we're trying to show that portion to you. And Emily, I think you're doing a fabulous job. So I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Of course.
That means a lot coming from you. So.
No, well, that's why I followed you. Like I see accounts like they'll come across because especially, and I always say like my sister actually asked me this a little while ago because I do this and she's kind of like, doesn't do any social media stuff, but she follows a bunch of people and she has certain people that she follows that she absolutely adores. And she tells me about them constantly. And she had asked me while we were on vacation, she said, do you recognize people in your inbox? Like, do you start to recognize usernames?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I said, yeah. And it's the people that I see constantly commenting or messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do, I will remember your name and I'm more likely to message you back because I will see it and I'll know that it's going to be a peaceful transaction.
Yes.
It's going to be something nice because I don't know what I'm going to get. But they really do become your community of people. And you were one of those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole reason. So I started from my own personal account and I had a video that just skyrocketed of my son, went 5 million. And I was just doing it for fun. Like it was a funny thing. It was like that turn left on Washington Ave audio, it was like, and it went off. And then I was like, you know what? This is fun. This is fun. And then I saw all these people that I was connecting with when I was literally like sitting by myself in my house with, at the time I had just had Finn. So I was a newborn, baby and a toddler, just feeling like I couldn't get out. I couldn't do anything. And I was like, I lost that creative spark of myself when I had stopped working. And so I got that feedback again. And it's like a serotonin like boost. You get that feedback when a video goes viral or something in a good way. And I was like, I can do this. This is fun. And I can connect with people and I can find like my people again. And I did. And it turned into something that I did not expect. But now I'm having real conversations with women on the other end of the phone who we're planning trips together and we're planning to go to a conference next year. And like, it's turning into something that's a real part of my life now, like a real connection point in my life. I can't yeah, I can't be more grateful for it.
I know. That's what I tell. And that's what you got to keep reminding yourself of, especially as you keep on growing, because I'm sure you will keep on growing. But yeah, I just said it to my husband the other day. I was like, because I'm so sick and tired of like stupid shit on there lately.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
like,
Tied with PMDD every month is my wanting to up and leave and quit Instagram.
Yeah.
So
Yes. That's
every month like clockwork.
That makes sense then. I'm glad you just said that, because that's probably why this morning I got on. I was like, what if I just deleted my page forever and just like joined the rest of the Joe Schmoes in the world? Like, what if I just
I've thought about giving my husband my password and access and having him change it, because I'm like, I hate everybody and everything, and this isn't doing anything. People are trolls and they're mean, and and I literally think about all the time, and he's like, you work so hard.
I know that's Kev. Kev is like, Mary, you love it. Like you talk about it often. Like you love it. And I was like, I know.
We just forget about it for those couple of days, but it's all right.
It hits that freaking, especially imposter syndrome. I mean, that sucker.
Oh my gosh. I could talk about that for hours. Yeah.
Yeah. That's another episode.
I'm sure your account is huge. I'm sure you're going through it a lot. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Except, you know what? Here's the thing, and it's all about perspective. And that's like the big thing with growing is I remember being at like 300 followers and I got like 1,000 and I was like, oh, that's amazing. Holy heck. And then when you get to, and then, you think about being at 300, you're like, that was no big deal. And then you get from 1,000 to 5,000 and you're like, wait, like I now feel like 1,000 wasn't that great anymore. And like, you just compare. So like, I'm at my page, but I don't really think of it as being big anymore.
Oh
so
my
I'm
gosh.
like, I know, but that's like,
I know.
I have to like remind myself and being like, no, it is like you've done a lot, but because you get so comfy in that now where you're like, the goal now is shifted where you're like, no, it's not that great.
Yeah.
Like, no, you have to like, I have to keep.
And you have to remind yourself, like you do have something to say. You have something individual to offer. And
regardless of
and
how
that's literally me. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter how many followers. I'm just like, I ask myself this every day. Am I making an impact? Am I doing something positive for my corner of the world? And if I can answer yes, then I will continue to go on and do Instagram. If I answer no, I take a break. I do. And my account has been penalized for that sometimes, but I take a break because it's to me, it's not worth it. I've talked about this a lot recently with my followers, but I feel like what I say has weight. And I worry that, like, especially in these PMDD episodes, I worry that what I'm saying is coming through that filtered lens of negativity and just, and it's okay. That's my truth, but I don't want my truth to be hurting someone else, you know, because I'm internal people pleaser forever. Like so I really am conscious of, now that I really know around ovulation and before my cycle, I really know, like, hey, this isn't like, oh, you can't necessarily trust this all the time. Like, I really am conscious, and I'll try to, like, talk to somebody about it and say, hey, what do you think of this? Is this okay? Like, I wanted to come on the other day and say, don't have another kid. Like, and who does that help? That does not help anyone.
Get it on. If you guys are thinking about having kids, don't do it. Like,
but that, like, there was no purpose for that other than just like anger and frustration.
It's
like,
not how you truly feel.
Yeah,
it just
exactly.
Got no, I've had so many moments like that, being like, if you guys are wondering, true statement, don't do it. Like,
And so I realized, like, my words have weight. So I've got to, like, so if I need to take a break, I take a break. But it, like, I have an empty suitcase right here because my last PMDD episode, I wanted to pack a bag and just, okay, bye.
Yeah.
And it's just an empty suitcase sitting right here. Nothing was going to happen, but the act of me just like pulling it out was
have you heard of the audio on TikTok that's like the Barbie girl, I'm a Barbie girl, and it's like, hi, Ken, and she's like going like that. Have you heard that one?
It's frightening.
I know, but you should do that. But I wish it was like the same original Barbie girl before it got into the.
I know.
Part. You should see if you can edit.
Oh, I could edit it together. Yeah.
Like you before, like, and then make it about PMDD, because I think more people need to talk about.
That's why I've really been deciding, do I create, because I have a lot of really great resources. There are a lot of really great resources already out there for hormone balance and some wonderful accounts that I've started to follow that have really helped me. And I've started to think like, I don't want to do that because I'm not an expert in this, but I want to just talk about my journey because I have so many people that have reached out to me saying, overwhelming, more DMs than I've ever gotten in my life, saying I'm going through the same exact thing.
Yeah.
And what really woke me up was when this is serious, but I've shared it with my family, so I'm okay sharing this, but I wanted to hurt myself. I wanted to actually die.
Yeah.
And I've never come close to that before, ever. And I knew it was like the next day, it was gone. So I'm like, if anyone else is feeling that way, if my journey can impact them and say like really empower yourself to find out what's going on with you, because that's not normal. That's inhibiting your daily functioning. That's inhibiting your life. And that's not who you want to be. And that's not who you are. You want to live. You live a beautiful life, but your hormones and your brain are literally convincing you something else every month. And so I've thought about branching off and going to a separate account, but the feedback I'm getting just from my followers
you should share
alone.
It to your main account. It's your journey. You just add it in.
Yeah.
You just add it into your journey. I think you should share it more, like, even if it's once a month, because you're obviously going to go through it once a month. But just something you can just take away from that. But I think more people need to hear about that because, like I said, I experience it, but at not a tremendous level. So I feel like I'm okay staying here at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain moments where I was even Googling it the other day. I was like, I don't know if this is what I have, but I feel like it's like a mild version of just like insanity.
Yeah, you might just have a sensitivity to the progesterone and estrogen shifts, more so than other people.
I totally do.
Yeah,
I'm like
and there are things that you can do that you're already doing that I see you doing that can literally mitigate that. But what happens is it's literally the things that I've read is that it's the 100 days before. It's not like the 10 days before or the 30 days before. It's like consistency. And I'm sorry, I love my Diet Coke and that's affecting me. I love my coffee and that's affecting me. Exactly. And that's affecting me. And breaking those habits and trying to be consistent for 100 days or even 3 weeks is hard for me right now. So I know what's going to help reduce this and I'm working on that. But that accountability for myself, I don't have it right now.
Yeah.
So
well,
it's hard.
Me neither. Cheers. Cheers to that. It's all right.
My water's way over there. My Diet Coke's in the other room.
That's all right. Well, I love this conversation. I think I'm totally going to have you back on in the future. That we
I would love it.
Stick to your 100 days of this and then report back in.
Can we be accountability partners?
I'll be your accountability partner. But thank you for being here. Everyone that's listening, I'm going to link Emily's stuff in the show notes. That way you can follow her. Please go follow her because she's incredible. And
thank you.
I love you even more now because this was
you're making me cry.
Don't cry.
I said I wasn't going to cry. Now it's like, oh, you say something nice. I'm like,
well, I mean it. You know what?
Thank you so much.
We have to hear that more. It's like my big thing is like, we don't hear that enough, but you're doing important things and
you as a person, but your account has single-handedly, I'm not even gonna lie, at the top of the first thing every day I do usually is watch your stories if you have them. Because I'm just serious. It makes such a positive impact on my day. No matter what's going on in your world, it's like somebody's going through it with me. And you have 3 kids, so it's a little bit different dynamic, but just like it really does feel like I'm sitting on the porch drinking my coffee with you, or I'm, having a beer, a line in Google while you have your Corona or whatever. Like it just feels like you're that person. Like that's just the friend that's easily accessible. So from thousands of miles away. So thank you.
Another episode down. Thank you all so much for listening. If you loved today's episode, I would be so appreciative if you would leave a rating and review. I cannot begin to tell you how much those mean to me, but also how much they help me get in front of more eyes and more ears. As always, be sure to check back every Tuesday and Friday for a new episode, whether it's an episode with me and my husband, me and Katie, or just another incredible, amazing guest. Stay tuned for more more honest, real, raw chit chat. And hey, do me a favor before you go. Remind yourself how amazing you are, how enough you are, how special you are. And boy, oh boy, I sure am glad to have you here. Thanks, friend.